This is Big Brother on steroids. And folks, this is not a surprise to people that have been reading our sites, because Homeland Security for at least 2 years has been on record starting these Viper teams and checkpoints in Boston and New York City and Miami. Suddenly it's on the local news showing them doing the grope downs, grabbing people's genitals, patting them down on the streets of America. This is wrong on so many fronts. It's a violation of the 10th Amendment.
Our Tampa police and federal government agencies are teaming up to keep your family safe.
It's the sort of security we've seen a lot of since 9/11. Now, here at the bus station. It's all part of what Homeland Security calls Viper, for Visible Intermodal Prevention and Response.
This way, us and our partners are ready to move in at a moment's notice.
Folks, it doesn't get any more Big Brother 1984 than this. But it's not going to be Big Brother. It literally is Big Sis when you're checking out, looking down on you, telling you to spy on people around you, injecting paranoia into the society. This is worse than those terror threat levels they had. And now the former head of Homeland Security, Ridge, has gone public saying they would issue those for political purposes.
A vigorous, some might say dramatic discussion ensued. Ashcroft strongly urged an increase in the threat level and was supported by Rumsfeld. There was absolutely no support for that position within our department. That's Homeland Security. None. I wondered, is this about security or politics?
This is our nation turning into an East German Stasi society. And now the system doesn't care. I mean, Wired magazine, feds warrantlessly tracking Americans' credit cards in real time with no warrants, completely illegal. They don't care, they're announcing it. The Wall Street Journal comes out and says, is your video game machine watching you? And goes on to admit that the new Microsoft Kinect system face scans you and has microphones on board and can identify everybody in your home. Our culture has been so conditioned to accept Big Brother that schools in Pennsylvania and other states come right out and say, yeah, the government-issued laptops that we give you, we're watching you at home when you're in bed. Make no mistake, this is the story of America's enslavement. If we will put up with this, we will go along with anything. And notice this is happening as the economy implodes. Law enforcement sent my office the Homeland Security and MIAC reports over a year and a half ago, where the government's internal documents admit 90+% of Homeland Security funding is for gun owners, conservatives, libertarians, returning veterans. The big secret is this Homeland Security system is for the American people. And we had all better come together and defend the Bill of Rights and Constitution, or it's over for our society. Again, it is not my opinion that Homeland Security is already on the streets of America. And now they've purchased hundreds of high-powered X-ray vans driving around looking through our walls and our cars. That's on record in Forbes. They've now purchased dozens of these huge 18-wheeler tractor trailers for football games and music events where Homeland Security is going to make you march through these. I mean, this is total takeover of society.
Under the Future Attribute Screening Technologies, or FAST program, the Department of Homeland Security is developing innovative physiological and behavioral screening technologies to streamline the screening process at security checkpoints. The mobility of the FAST demonstration laboratory allows security officials to quickly and efficiently establish security boundaries. Inside the screening mobile module, a suite of real-time, non-invasive sensors measure behavioral and physiological indications of malintent, or the intent or desire to cause harm.
We've got to stop conforming to this tyranny. We've got to recognize how dangerous it is to our society. Imagine what's coming next if we go along with this outrage. And one more point. If you don't like what Walmart's doing with these telescreens and this whole Big Brother system, call them and let them know that you're not going to be shopping at their stores until they kick the federal government out of them.
Thank you for doing your part to help keep our hometowns safe.
Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the sites, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want. It was Bertrand Russell who said, I don't know, back in the 30s, and a lot of other ones, George Bernard Shaw and others, said that if the state didn't have a use for you, you would be killed. They're the ones, people that like a big government, that always lecture everybody how they want to take care of us, and they care about us, they love us. But you study history, it's a lie. What a wild evening so far. George Noory earlier, David Icke, who's so spot on politically and such a great speaker. And God, I hope he's wrong about off-world stuff controlling the planet. We don't usually get into that subject, but David Icke's such an icon in the awakening movement that we do have him on, and I think he's a good soul at the end of the day. Mike Adams has been here for the last hour and a half or so and just covered a lot of amazing information, dealing with the attack on raw milk and the demonization. Now, I've seen them demonizing women that even in public places will cover themselves up and give their child sustenance. That's evil. Anything human, anything normal, anything natural is evil. And it's all part of the system, the power structure, waging war on the natural world. And it doesn't mean I'm up on some high horse, Mr. Healthy, have all the answers. I can recognize what's good and bad, though. And it's in that recognizing good from bad that I guess makes us human. Now, coming up, always informative, always interesting, Alfred Adask will be joining us to look at the state of the world today. We then, of course, have Texe Mars joining us, always extremely informative. We have Mr. Corbett of the Corbett Report joining us, Fritz Springmeier, fresh out of prison, and then Aaron Dykes at 2:30 in the morning takes over. And Aaron's a great guy. You know, I sent him and Dew up to Maine to interview Charlotte Iserbyt, who worked in the Foreign Service and worked in the Reagan administration. She headed up the Department of Education as the head of policy, #2 position. And, of course, Reagan didn't know what was going on. He just was a puppet. I mean, when something's that complex, that busy, I'd probably be president and be a puppet just because you can't, there's so much stuff going on, unless you tried to get into control of everything and tried to look into everything. The point is that she revealed a lot of stuff to us about Skull and Bones. The problem is, Aaron, we've had this interview for probably almost a year now. And we did part one. Dew did part one the first day of interviews about education. And it was one of the most in-depth she's ever done. I know it's one of her favorite interviews ever. And then we put that on prisonplanet.tv. This one is 8 hours. And Aaron, for off and on for a year, in between all his other duties and films and documentaries and short news pieces and doing the show and updating the websites, gcnlive.com and also infowars.com. About a week ago, I said, yeah, we're going to air that Skull and Bones piece. You're going to have that ready? And the thing is, he doesn't want to just have the dry interview. He wants to back up everything she's saying. He wants to show the documents. They spent hours and hours on top of the 8-hour interview filming all the books no one's ever seen, internal Skull and Bones stuff. They've got the grandfather clocks. They've got the whole thing you get. She's had multiple family members, her dad and others that were Skull and Bones. That's coming up in the early morning hours. Aaron has been up off and on for 2 days, and I told him today, I said, let's just not do this. I said, let's just wait and put it up on the special report section whenever you get it done. But in a way, it's so much stuff. It's like a film. He'll probably never get it done. So at least something's going to air. At least part of it is going to air coming up. I think it's 7 a.m. So we've got that premiering here, and we're really excited about that. I mean, this is some groundbreaking stuff. She's the lady who back in the 80s gave Anthony Sutton the information that blew Skull and Bones wide open. And now the research that she released is really the blueprint for what we know about Skull and Bones, and they now admit it's accurate because, her dad, other family members were members of that. So that's coming up. So that's just some of what we've got lined up. Jim Mars tomorrow morning, Alan Watt, Gerald Celente, Richard Reeves hosting an hour in the morning. But I'm going to go here till 2+ in the morning with all these other guests. But I wanted to have Mike Adams for another 15 minutes or so with us, because you always line up a bunch of guests and topics and things that are breaking you want to cover. But the assault on Whole Foods, and I don't mean the company Whole Foods, but the assault on real food, for those that missed what I was saying, the assault on humanity, everything seems to be intensifying. And the new wars, the police state, the censorship of the internet, all of this is happening now. Why do you think this is happening now, Mike Adams?
Well, first of all, I want to give a shout out to your crew, by the way, Alex, because Aaron Dykes is back there working his butt off to get that finished, and everybody here is super dedicated. For those who watch your show or who listen and they don't get the chance to see behind the scenes, Behind the scenes is really, really intense, and people are super dedicated. No one is goofing off around here. When I walk around and talk to people, sometimes they say, I'm busy, I'm working on this film, love to talk to you, but they're so dedicated, so it's incredible. But in terms of, to address your question, Alex, why is this happening now? Why the acceleration right now? I think it's because so many people are beginning to wake up, that the globalists have to up their own plan of acceleration. You see, I think that the globalists had planned to take another 100 years to accomplish all of this. But when they realize that there are people like you out there, or people like David Icke, who are really sort of uncovering the patterns and the secrets and raising awareness, that the globalists realize, holy cow, we don't have 100 years to make this happen. We gotta push all of these things now. We gotta push GMOs now. We gotta push the vaccines aggressively now. And so that's what they're doing. And I think they're trying to accomplish their main goals, one of which is, of course, total depopulation, wiping out a big portion of the population of the planet through infertility or other means. They want to do that within 10 years, I think, or maybe faster. I mean, I don't know the timeline, Alex, but
well, they are going crazy.
Yeah, clearly they are going crazy. And if you look at the pushing of the Gardasil vaccine, it's a classic case of how they are accelerating.
Well, they're fleeing forward.
Absolutely they are, because they've been caught red-handed. But they can't say, oh, we've been caught, the vaccine is harmful to girls. Instead, they say, well, now let's push it on boys. Well, now let's attack Dr. Wakefield. Now let's discredit
They actually
everyone.
spin it. They go, it's boys that give it to the girls. They're bad, so now they get it. Like it's a punishment. You did it, and this will help you. Nah.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. Some of what's going on in their heads is pretty sick. And in fact, your interview and David Icke brought this up, where David mentioned that what has been removed from those bloodlines is a sense of human empathy. They literally cannot feel for another child or feel how another person might feel.
I think it's worse than that. It's not that they don't even feel. They enjoy hurting them.
Yeah,
in a way, I disagree with David. They actually enjoy it. I mean, I heard that video last week that got censored on YouTube and stuff of the little 3-year-old girl with the whole bottom jaw blown off.
I couldn't even listen to your show. That when you went into that, I had to fast forward.
That haunts me.
Oh, my gosh. That was truly horrifying stuff. But maybe there is an element out there that well, there must be, because you look at what they do with children. I mean, you look at Child Protective Services, and you've covered this, and how some of those children end up, disappearing. Well, they don't just disappear. They're taken somewhere.
Oh, it's been confirmed. We have allowed, through national security and all these secretive systems, to allow the worst of elements of society to just do whatever they want.
It's really frightening also to look at the way the population allows it to happen. When someone allows the TSA to do all that without speaking out ever, someone just says, oh, it's fine, I feel safer now because they're feeling my junk and feeling my breast, whatever. That allowance of it, that mental acceptance of that kind of violation of human boundaries, that is what is the doorway to more tyranny.
Well, it says we're all guilty, too. It's this idea of there's no due process, there's no nothing, and so they're expanding out to the streets. Yeah,
that's the other side, the no due process. That's really frightening when you've got a president whose advisors create a kill list. The White House openly admits this. They have a kill list. These are American citizens to kill without due process. Even if you think they are a terrorist, or even if you think they did something,